What's up, fantasy managers? Welcome back to another episode of the First Pitch Podcast brought to you by PitcherList.com. My name is Jake Crumpler, and I'll be your host for this edition of the pod. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake Crumpler, and you can find all of my work at CrumplerBaseball.com. Let's dive into everything baseball related from Tuesday, July 29th. We'll start it off, as always, with the transactions, injuries, news, and notes from around the league, kicking things off with the bad news as outfielder Byron Buxton was placed on the 10-day IL with ribcage inflammation. He had made it like the whole year without getting injured, despite, some small injuries here and there, but pretty healthy season for Buxton. And now he'll hit the IL, and it's terrible timing because, we're hitting the end of the season. The Twins are sort of out of the playoff race. And with Buxton's injury history, there's a little bit of concern on my end. And I don't think it's just me that Buxton might be out for an extended period of time because his recovery is probably something that is not the best as well with all the injuries that he's faced throughout his career. So hopefully Buxton can return in the minimum time, but I wouldn't get your hopes up. Harrison Bader is expected to shift from left field to center field to cover Buxton's absence, which will open up everyday playing time for Willie Castro in left field, affording Trevor Larnach and Matt Wallner even more playing time in the outfield and at DH for the Twins. Next, we have second baseman Hye-Seong Kim, who's placed on the 10-day IL with shoulder bursitis. I knew some type of corresponding move was coming with Alex Freeland reported to being selected today, and that was the case as Freeland was selected from the minors in a corresponding move to Kim's IL placement. Freeland is the Dodgers' number 3 prospect according to MLB Pipeline, and while I did suggest that something like Mookie Betts moving from short to second would probably be the only way that Freeland would get a consistent amount of playing time, it looks like he may be in a platoon of sorts. Miguel Rojas started at second base in the first game of Kim's absence, but it could be a platoon there, as I mentioned, at the keystone position with Freeland, despite Freeland seeing the position just 9 times throughout his minor league career. So I am wondering if the Dodgers will thrust him into that role right away, but it could be a little mix and match. They do have Tommy Edman and such. Maybe Mookie Betts moves back to the outfield to get his bat going. We'll see how that shakes out. But right now it makes most sense for Freeland to be on the strong side of a platoon with Rojas. Freeland is a switch hitter, so he could go either way. And our last IL placement, pretty terrible. As shortstop Jacob Wilson was placed on the 10-day IL with a fractured forearm. Terrible because he's had a great season. Obviously, any injury is awful, but Wilson has had such a great rookie season, and that will be put on hold. And it's possible he's out for an extended period of time. Fractured forearms can take a while to recover. Obviously, it's not broken, but I think Wilson could be out, will definitely be out longer than the minimum time. But at this point in the season, with the A's clearly out of it, it's similar to the Buxton situation, especially with somebody so young like Wilson. I don't think they're going to rush him back. We probably won't see Wilson back until September at the earliest. And even then, it's sort of risky to force him back early. So I wouldn't expect that to happen. If Wilson is ready to return and is at full health, we could see him probably in a few weeks at the earliest. In a corresponding move, Darell Hernaiz was recalled from the minors. He's expected to be the A's everyday shortstop moving forward. He made his debut last year and he wasn't impressive, but he is still just 23 years old. And at AAA this year, he batted .305 with 4 homers, 12 steals, and a 98 WRC plus, which isn't great, but his plate discipline metrics were awesome. 46 walks to 51 strikeouts. So pretty dope contact skills from Hernaiz as well as plate discipline. So looking for him to be the A's everyday shortstop moving forward. In terms of transactions, we had only one notable trade from Tuesday as we enter the final couple days of the trade deadline. And this one involved relief pitcher Seranthony Dominguez, who was traded by the Orioles to the Blue Jays mid doubleheader. Mind you, they were in a doubleheader against each other. So after the first game, Dominguez had to switch jerseys and switch bullpens, which really awkward, really weird. I don't know why they had to do him like that. They couldn't just wait until the doubleheader was over. And then he ended up pitching for them as well. I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that. But nonetheless, Seranthony Dominguez will be joining the Blue Jays in exchange for starting pitcher Joran Watts Brown. That first name I've never seen. Juaron. Joran Watts Brown will be heading to the Orioles. And Dominguez is expected to be one of the top setup men in Toronto. And in a corresponding move, pretty surprising, Chad Green was designated for assignment. So he'll become a free agent most likely ahead of the trade deadline. He could also be traded for somebody else. So we'll see how that goes. But Dominguez to the Blue Jays. And with his departure, that opens up the ninth inning in Baltimore again, because Felix Bautista was recently injured, landing on the IL with a significant shoulder injury, and Dominguez was filling in for him. So now with Dominguez out of there, Andrew Kittredge is probably the best bet to record saves for the Orioles moving forward, but he could also be traded with just one more year of control left, which would open up the closer role ultimately for Yennier Cano, which is my expectation for post-trade deadline, but right now Kittredge is the front runner. Next, we have starting pitcher Ryan Bergert, who was recalled from the minors to start versus the Mets. He tossed 4 innings, allowing 2 hits and 1 run, walking 4 while striking out 4, and inducing 9 whiffs, so 27% CSW across 83 pitches. He's been in some trade talk, so I think Bergert was probably put on display here to get teams more interested in him. Stephen Kolek was optioned to the minors in a corresponding move. Next, we have starting pitcher Pearson Ole, who was selected from the minors to make his MLB debut for the Twins. He's replacing Chris Paddock in the rotation, and he faced the Red Sox in his debut, tossing 3 innings, allowing 5 hits and 4 earned runs, walking 1 while striking out 4, inducing 9 whiffs, so 24% CSW across 72 pitches. And lastly, we have first baseman Troy Johnston, who was selected from the minors by the Marlins in a corresponding move to Nick Fortes being traded to the Rays. Johnston is expected to be on the strong side of a first base platoon, and the 28-year-old rookie batted .252 at AAA with 12 homers, 31 steals, and a 108 WRC+. And now we'll take a look at a couple of news tidbits, starting with outfielder Ronald Acuna Jr., who is expected to be placed on the 10-day IL today with Achilles tightness. We don't have an official diagnosis as of yet because the IL placement hasn't been made official, but he was seen walking around with a boot and is expected to hit the IL. Looks like Eli White will replace Acuna in right field once he is officially placed on the IL. And lastly, we have Luke Raley, who is expected to be placed on the 10-day IL with back stiffness. Raley had been out of playing time anyway since the Josh Naylor acquisition, so it won't be a huge blow to the Mariners or fantasy teams for that matter. But in a corresponding move, first baseman Tyler Locklear is expected to be recalled from the minors. He's the Mariners' number 9 prospect, according to MLB Pipeline, and he has torn up AAA this year, batting .316 with 19 homers, 18 steals, and a 137 WRC+. So I think the Mariners will try to be getting him into the lineup, and he definitely is worth the shot in deeper leagues if he does get playing time consistently moving forward. Now we can take a look at some of our notable performances from Tuesday, a day in which we had a full slate of 16 games as the Blue Jays and Orioles partook in a doubleheader. I'll once again only have time for 2 in each, the hitter and starting pitcher notable performances, but that will be done. The shortness there will be done next week once we've got the trade deadline over with and there's much less news for me to focus on. But we still got some time for some notable performances, leading off with first baseman Andrew Vaughn, who helped the Brewers to win against the Cubs, going 3 for 4 with 2 runs, a home run, and 6 runs batted in. He's up to 10 homers now. This one traveled 409 feet at 106 miles per hour. And as a fan of the University of California athletics, due to my familial affiliation and proximity to the college, I was hyped about Vaughn even before he made it to the majors. So it took me a while to give up on his potential breakout, meaning like last year I was still in on him in fantasy, and ultimately the White Sox gave up on the 2019 third overall pick this year as well, allowing him to toil in the minors before dealing him to the Brewers for Aaron Savale. Well, that trade has been a win-win for both clubs because Savali's been pretty dope for the White Sox and it's going to be a pretty good trade chip for them. Vaughn has looked like a completely different hitter in Milwaukee and has been incredible. Prior to Tuesday's impressive performance, he was batting .341 with 4 dingers and a 208 WRC+, supported by a higher walk rate than strikeout rate, more walks and strikeouts, which is something I always fawn over, and eye-catching StatCast metrics, including a 15% barrel rate and a 54% hard hit rate. And while the most notable adjustments to Vaughn's games have been to his selectiveness at the plate, as he's become noticeably better at not swinging at pitches out of the zone, which is probably the biggest result or the biggest factor into why he's walking more than he's striking out and why he's finding so much success at the plate. I've also noticed that he's become noticeably better or excuse me, I also had hoped that Vaughn would pull the ball more to help tap into his power. And while he hasn't done that yet exactly, his oppo percentage has dropped dramatically, which is definitely a good start for Vaughn. So I looks like he's swinging at better pitches and he's hitting the ball not to right field, which is good for his power. And honestly, I'm adoring this new version of Andrew Vaughn. And I think this change of scenery has allowed him to have the breakout for which I've waited for more than half a decade. And lastly, we've got catcher Shea Langeliers, who helped the A's to win against the Mariners, going 2 for 4 with 2 runs, a home run, and an RBI. Was his 18th homer of the year, and it traveled 392 feet at 100 miles per hour. Langeliers is quietly in the midst of the best season of his career, and if it wasn't for the few weeks he missed in June with an oblique injury, I think he'd be talked about a lot more, and that missed time should honestly make his homer total even more impressive. He's also improved his defense a lot this year, putting him on pace to shatter the career high 2 F4 he recorded last year. He's already at 1.8 before this game, and so I think he's going to blow by it, probably be 3-4 WAR player. Langeliers has been on a tear recently as well, with Tuesday's homer being his 4th in his last 5 games and his 6th of the second half, tying him with teammate Nick Kurtz and the legendary Shohei Ohtani for the second highest total in baseball post All-Star break, trailing only Kyle Schwarber, whose home run derby style All-Star game MVP has propelled a power surge of his own. Obviously, I love Langeliers' batted ball metrics, according to StatCast, but my favorite things to see is a strikeout rate below 20%, as punchouts were always the biggest red flag that had me steering clear of Langeliers earlier in his career, as he fanned 29% of the time through the first 3 years of his career. But to see him make such a notable adjustment with the underlying metrics supporting it has me fully buying into Langeliers as a top-tier offensive catcher moving forward. But if you'd like a breakdown of other notable hitting performances, check out the daily Batters Box article over on pitcherlist.com. Now we'll head to the mound and check out some notable starting pitching performances, opening with Brandon Young, who helped the Orioles to win in the second half of the doubleheader versus the Blue Jays. He tossed 6 innings, allowing 6 hits and 2 earned runs while walking 2 and striking out 6. He induced 12 whiffs with 34% CSW across 86 pitches, and Young hasn't been great in his first taste of the majors, but I love his stuff so much that I might be touting him as a sleeper in deep leagues next season. His mid-90s heater has great shape and pairs well with a splitter and curveball that PLV absolutely loves, and he incorporates a cutter as well to take the pressure off his fastball. His four-seamer was electric in this one with the intention of locating it upstairs. Young induced 6 whiffs and 43% CSW. He probably got away with a few too many pitches down the middle, returning 10 foul balls and 11 called strikes, but that's where the velocity and the good shape on the pitch come in to help, as well as the incorporation of his cutter as his secondary offering in this one, which slowed down batter swings with glove side location, returning 6 outs on 7 balls in play. Curveballs and splitters chipped in as well, combining for 4 whiffs and 32% CSW, as he did a decent job of keeping them low. So as much as I like Young stuff and was impressed by this outing and am excited for his future, I don't think I can condone starting him in Philadelphia next if he even sticks in the Orioles rotation. And lastly, we've got Justin Verlander, who did all he could, but the Giants lost versus the Pirates, tossing 5 innings, allowing 6 hits and 1 earned run, walking 1 while striking out 7. He induced 13 whiffs with 34% CSW across 94 pitches. And the future Hall of Famer has had a rough season, recording just 1 win in 18 starts this year. And that first win didn't even come until start number 17 last time out. But he's now allowed just 1 run across his last 2 starts combined. And Verlander looked like his vintage self on Tuesday as our streamer of the day. I would say this one constitutes a dub. He relied heavily on 11 fastball called strikes in this one, but the heater was still electric at 95 with 19 inches of IVB, inducing 5 whiffs for 34% CSW, while sliders tore up both lefties and righties for 5 more whiffs and 30% CSW. Against righties, curveballs were especially good, returning 47% CSW, while changeups offered a different look against lefties, despite producing just 17% CSW due to poor command of the pitch. And I'm so down to run this back again with Verlander, especially with a rematch in Pittsburgh up next. But if you'd like a breakdown of every single start from Tuesday, give the Plus Pitch podcast a listen and check out Nick's daily SP roundup over on pitcherlist.com. Now I'll head to the mound and check out some notable Now we'll head to the bullpen and check out the relievers that got saves and the closers that pitched outside of save situations or blew their saves, starting with Corbin Martin, who recorded his first save with a hitless ninth. Now, you'd probably be buying into that one saying, oh, there's your new closer with Sir Anthony Dominguez out of town. But Andrew Kittredge pitched the eighth in a tie game, earning his second win. And Martin has pitched like 7 innings this year and really wasn't great at AAA. He's just been very good in a small sample in the majors. I would not expect him to be the closer moving forward. Devin Williams worked around a run to record his 17th save. Alex Vesia recorded his 4th save with a perfect 9th. Aroldis Chapman got the final out of the game, returning to health and recording his 19th save. Carlos Estevez recorded his 28th and tied for the AL lead save total with a scoreless 9th. Aaron Ashby got a 10-out save, his second of the year. Josh Hader struck out the side in order to tie Carlos Estevez for the AL lead with 28 saves. Kenley Jansen recorded his 20th save with a scoreless 9th. And lastly, Dennis Santana pitched a perfect 9th for his 6th save. David Bednar had pitched in 3 of the past 4 days and threw 32 pitches on Monday, so he was resting. And in terms of closers to pitch outside of save situations or blow their saves, Jeff Hoffman allowed the go-ahead run while pitching the 9th in a tie game to take his 4th loss. Emilio Pagan surrendered the go-ahead run pitching the 9th in a tie game to take his 3rd loss, and Ronnie Henriquez pitched a perfect 9th up by 5. But if you like more information on relief pitchers, check out Rick Graham's weekly articles over on pitcherlist.com. And before we look forward to today's games, we're going to take a quick break. Now we'll look forward to Wednesday, July 30th, a day in which we'll have a full slate of 15 games. My matchup of the day is Shota Imanaga versus Freddie Peralta. We got an interdivision matchup. Imanaga was not good last time out, so I'm looking for him to bounce back in this one. And I'm also looking for Freddie Peralta to continue his very impressive 2025 campaign. In terms of probable starters, we've got 5 guys in the auto starts tier, including Imanaga. We've also got Brian Wu against the A's in Sacramento, Logan Webb versus the Pirates, Nathan Eovaldi in Anaheim, and Mackenzie Gore in Houston. Our probably starts here has 5 guys, and that's where we'll find our streamer of the day in Chris Paddock versus the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks lineup is definitely getting worse as we get closer and closer to the deadline, and Chris Paddock has switched teams from the Twins to the Tigers, which gives him a better ballpark to pitch in, better defense behind him, and more offensive support. So I think Paddock is a pretty great stream on Wednesday. I'd also keep an eye out for Colby Allard versus the Rockies. It worked well with Logan Allen yesterday against the Rockies, and Allard is also a lefty, so I think he should also tear up the Rockies outside of Coors. In terms of hitter suggestions, I'd look at Mariners and A's hitters in Sutter Health Park. Great hitters ballpark, and we'll see Brian Wu square off against Jeffrey Springs. I'll also look at Marlins and Cardinals hitters in Busch Stadium. The pitching matchup is prime to target hitters against Cal Quantrill, and his 5.05 ERA will square off against Miles Mikolas and his 4.94 ERA. Lastly, I'd look at Mets hitters versus Yu Darvish, who has a 9.18 ERA on his small sample season, but Mets hitters should be able to take advantage of Darvish in this one, and they have a lot of experience facing him as well. And now we'll close things out with our relievers to watch. Aroldis Chapman has pitched in 3 of the past 4 days, so expect Jordan Hicks or Greg Weissert to get a shot at a save on Wednesday. Carlos Estevez has also pitched 3 of the past 4, but so has Lucas Urseg, and there's really nobody else that the Royals trust in the 9th, so it's probably going to be Estevez going back out there again today. Josh Hader has pitched on back-to-back days, but so have both Brian Abreu and Brian King, so one of Bennett Sousa or Steven Okert is likely to get a save for the Astros. Kenley Jansen has pitched in 3 games in a row, so expect Reed Detmers to be out there for the Angels on Wednesday in the 9th. Emilio Pagan has pitched in 4 of the past 5 games, and so has Tony Santillan, and I've suggested Graham Ashcraft or Taylor Rogers going to get a save for the past 3 days now, and I think this is finally going to be the day that it happens. And lastly, Alex Vesia has pitched on back-to-back days, so expect Blake Trinan or Kirby Yates to get a save for the Dodgers on Wednesday. But that'll do it for today's episode of the First Pitch Podcast. Make sure to head on over to pitcherlist.com to check out all of the great articles and features we have on the site. Sign up for PL Plus or PL Pro to gain access to the Discord and to support the Pitcher List staff. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake Crumpler. Tune in live on YouTube tomorrow and every day for a new installment of the podcast. And make sure to enjoy the day as we are blessed with another day of baseball.